Welcome back to Silverstone, everybody. Round 15 of the 2024 Hagerty Radical Cup UK is coming up for you. The cars are already making their way onto the grid. This grid is based upon the fastest laps that were set earlier on, but with half of the times reversed, so the fastest lap time set in race one, but the top half reversed in reality. There isn't a grid graphic that we can bring you, but we can guide you through the grid and the way that they will line up. Adrian Hallmark starts from pole position, and he's got Andy Lowe sitting alongside him, with row 2 of the grid being Rob Greenwood and Peter Tyler. Paul Denning and Usman Mughal line up there on row number 3, and it's Arlem Geshev and Jack Yang that are there on row number 4. Luke Hilton lines up on the inside of the 5th row with Oscar Joyce sitting alongside, and it is Ian Aguilera, the race winner from the second race we've had so far this weekend, the race earlier on this morning, that lines up alongside the championship leader and the winner of yesterday's race, Chris Lulham. Wesley Fongini and John Davis are row number 7, with Lee Jackson and Gavin McAlpine on row number 8. Rupert Adcock and Jim Booth are row number 9, with Peter Brooks and Christian Brooks there on row number 10. Chris Preen and John McLeod are on row number 11. Watch out for those two. They are a long way down through the order based on their fastest lap times from race 1. Well, they got eliminated, as did several cars, at the first corner. So watch out for those. Amir Faisalim and Jason Rishover are next up. There are 2 other cars that got omitted from the race at turn 1 yesterday. And James Pinkerton, once more, the head of R&D for Radical, starts, or chooses to start, at the back. That's the SR3s. Then we'll get a couple of rows gap on this rolling start before we then see the SR1s. And on pole for the SR1s is the first of 2 of the Gaunt brothers that we've got in the field. It's Bradley Gaunt alongside Sam Shaw on row number 1 for the SR1s. Marcus Littlewood, who's taken 2 wins so far this weekend, has he not, in SR1s, alongside James Hadley. And the final row for the SR1s will be Ashley Gaunt and Lexi Belk. So that's the way that they line up. 30-minute race gone for this year in the Hagerty Radical Cup UK. Are any pit stop races or anything like that? So they've been a long time part of the championship, a pit stop race over the course of a weekend, but they're all sprint races nowadays. And after this weekend, then the cars will head to Brands Hatch and the Indy circuit on the 14th and 15th of September for their final racing weekend. They started the season Donington Park, Snetterton and Alton Park. All of those were supporting the British Touring Car Championship, a part of the TOCA package. Then they had the away round at Paul Ricard before coming here to Silverstone. So season finishes up at Brands. There's the number 11 car, Marcus Littlewood. So he is a driver who's won both of the races in the SR1 so far this season. But we'll keep an eye on what's going on at the sharp end of the grid. The green car with the silver flashes is Adrian Hallmark. He'll start from pole. It's the white and the blue car of Andy Lowe that's alongside. And in neat 2x2 order once more. They're well used to doing this in the Radical Cup UK. Once more supported by Hagerty for this year. Adrian Hallmark will look to see whether he can still lead the pack by the time they get towards Cops Corner. 30 minutes on the clock. Lights go off on the gantry. We're away and racing for the 15th time this year. And as they get towards Cops Corner, turn their way in towards the right-hander. We'll try and keep an eye on what's happening. Of course, we've still got the SR1s to get going as well. But down in towards Maggots and Beckett's for the first time, we've got somebody that's had a spin at the first corner. There's a few cars that are going slowly, one of which I think is Peter Brooks. And the other one, it looks as though it's the 47, which is going to be Rob Greenwood, who hopefully will be able to get the car out of harm's way. But we didn't quite pick up on exactly what happened there. Ian Aguilera starting to try and make progress already, trying to draw himself alongside Luke Chilton. There's contact between the pair of them as they get part of the way along the Hanger Straight. But as they head up towards Stowe for the first time, it's going to be Paul Denning that leads the way. In the SR1s, the early race leader, looks as though it's Sam Shaw, the number 16 car that's gone through into the early race lead of the SR1s. But back to the overall race lead, and it is Paul Denning that has just about got his nose ahead at the moment. Everybody else still vying for position. Wesley Fongini almost getting into the back of someone there, and then as he gets back on the throttle, the door is open, which allows Oscar Joyce to thread his way through. We've got John McLeod and Chris Preen trying to work their way through after, say, not completing the first lap yesterday, so they didn't get a fastest lap time in for race 1 that allows them to pick up a grid position for this one. So they started at the back, and it does look as though that stranded car at Copse, right on the exit of the circuit, might be a slight cause for concern for the marshals that are in that area. So we'll wait and see as to whether that's just dealt with by local yellow flags or whether we might need to get a snatch vehicle out on the circuit to get that car out of harm's way. So onto the Wellington straight. Paul Denning feeling the pinch for the lead of the race, and I think it's Usman Mughal, is it, that's looking to try and thread his way through. So that's the 25 and the 34 cars respectively. The telehandler, the JCB, still trying to get the car out of harm's way. But it is actually Chris Lulham that's gone through, actually. That was the black and red car, so it is the race winner from yesterday, Chris Lulham, that's picked up the lead of the race, which means he's come from 12th already on this lap. So I thought it was the black and red car of Usman Mughal, because he started 6th. I just didn't think Chris Lulham would have made that much progress in the early stages, but brilliant first lap from him. He leads the way. It's Paul Denning that's there in 2nd position, and who's there in 3rd? It is going to be Ian Aguilera that's there in 3rd place. Next up will be the car of Hilton, who lies 2nd in the championship, remember. He's had a bit of an off weekend, really, Luke Hilton. Jack Yang is 5th, and Usman Mughal is completing the top 6 at the moment at the wheel of his 34 car. Remember, he is the reigning Radical Gulf champion. The championship out in the Middle East, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, amongst others. And he's racing here this weekend at Silverstone as a prize for securing the Gulf Radical Championship. Ian Aguilera is looking to try and work his way through into 2nd place here if he can. He's getting ever closer to Paul Denning. So out of club, down the international pit straight, flash of the lights from Ian Aguilera. He was doing plenty of that yesterday, wasn't he, when he was trying to put off Chris Lulham. Literally for the whole 30 minutes he was flashing the lights on his SR3, and it didn't once worry Chris Lulham, who is just doing his own thing, really. The pro sim racer, races as part of Max Verstappen's sim racing team. 2nd at the moment, the man who is the team principal for the Yamaha World Superbike Championship. He is looking to try and hang on to 2nd place. At the moment, Paul Denning is doing a good job of keeping the race winner Ian Aguilera behind. And there's no chance to do anything up at Brooklands. There might be a chance here at Luffield as Denning runs a little bit wide, and straight away through goes the Pop Band colour car that was unveiled at the Goodwood Festival of Speed in the hands of Ian Aguilera. He's not yet absolutely got the job completed, because they are still together as they head up towards Cops Corner, but he's got the inside line and eventually goes through. So the Le Mans prototype racer racing the Radical for this weekend up into 2nd place now, and can now, in the remaining 25 minutes, set his sights firmly on trying to close the gap between himself and the race 1 winner of the weekend, which is Chris Lulham, who is at the moment 2 3/4 seconds up the road. And Chris Lulham, first flying lap completed, fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 4.577. Now we can expect the fastest laps to be down probably in the 2-minute 3s, maybe we might even get to. So up towards Stowe, already we can see Aguilera starting to build daylight between himself and Paul Denning. Paul Denning in 3rd place needs to be careful now, because he's also being caught by the 4th place car, which is number 32, Luke Hilton, with his day-glow flashes to his car. Jack Yang is next up. Then it's going to be Usman Mughal at the wheel of the black car with the red stripe right the way down the centre. And then it will be Andy Lowe, who's 7th, Peter Tyler is 8th, Oscar Joyce is 9th, and completing the top 10 is going to be the number 77 car at this stage, which is going to be Arlim Gashev. As for the SR1s, well, in the early stages it was Sam Shaw, was it not, that was leading the SR1s. We'll just see if we can get an idea as to whether Sam is still in the lead of that. And as I look through, yes, he is. Sam Shaw leading the SR1s at the moment in the number 16 car. 2nd in the SR1s is Marcus Littlewood, double race winner so far this weekend. And Lexi Belk is 3rd of the SR1s currently. We'll catch up with what's going on in the Fangio Trophy in a short while. Fangio Trophy for those drivers that were aged 45 and over at the beginning of the season. So here is the lead battle for the SR1s. Sam Shaw leading the way. In terms of number of race wins, well, they are matched for race wins, I think, at the moment, aren't they? Sam Shaw's had 8 so far this season in the SR1 category. Marcus Littlewood has had 8 now as a result of his 2 wins being added to the 5 he'd previously had. So one or t'other you would expect would come out on top over the end of this weekend. It's also close for them in terms of championship scoring. There won't be a great deal in it at all, I wouldn't have thought. Sam Shaw did go missing on the final lap in the race earlier on today, so it's going to make the SR1 Championship ever more exciting, I would have thought, by the time we've done the maths for this one. There'll be nothing in it by the time we get towards Brands Hatch on the 14th and 15th of September. So up towards Copse. Sam Shaw pitches the 1340cc engined car in towards Copse Corner. Shortly thereafter, Marcus Littlewood. Relative gap between the pair of them is not much more than probably 4 or 5 car lengths. That's going to equate to just over a second, I would have thought. So through Beckett's, up towards Chapel Curve. Speed begins to build on the exit. Make sure you get a good run coming out of Chapel, because you're going to carry all of that momentum down the Hanger Straight. 22.5 minutes to go. The lead battle for the SR1s, I would say, as close as it's been since we've picked up on it with our cameras. So through Stowe Corner, Sam Shaw trying to get his first win of the weekend. Marcus Littlewood trying to see if he can make himself unbeatable this weekend and claim his 3rd win, grab the hat-trick. Out of club, use all of the curbs that you can, but don't go beyond the white paint on the curb. Other cars from the tail end of the cup field, of course, trying to pick their way through. The white car with the Dayglow green flashes is John McLeod. Now, he started a long way down through the order, because he was one of, 5-6 cars that got tangled up at the first corner in the first race, and therefore didn't set a lap time. John McLeod is slowly working his way through the order. He's in 13th place, or was at the start of the lap. He's through and ahead of Chris Preen. He's ahead of Andy Lowe, so I think John McLeod will be 12th at the end of this lap. So wait for confirmation of that. There's Chris Preen. He started this lap in 14th place at the wheel of the number 3 car. He was another driver tangled up yesterday. John McLeod this time comes through and is 12th. Yeah, Chris Preen is up to 13th, and there's a spin for Ashley Gaunt. Does recover. That's going to drop him down towards the tail end of the SR1 field, that spin. That was coming out of the loop, where he looped the car. Is able to get going, but that's cost him a big old chunk of time from the cars he was doing battle with. So first third of the race was almost ticked through. We've had a new fastest lap of the race last time through from the race leader Chris Lulham, 2 minutes 3.924 for the lead of the SR1s. Marcus Littlewood was trying to prise the door open there. Was as close as he'd been heading in towards Copse Corner, but there are better overtaking opportunities than Copse. If you overtake on the way in, it's so easy to carry too much speed through the apex of the corner. You just wash out and run wide on the way out, and then lose the place again on the run down towards Maggot. So there'll be another opportunity somewhere for that black car with its gold flashes in the hands of Marcus Littlewood to try and squeeze its way through. The car that's ahead of the pair of them is an SR3, and that's going to be the number 10 car of Rupert Adcock. So hopefully he won't come into play whilst the SR1 cars battle for the lead of their category. And you can see how lap by lap it's bounced around a little bit over the course of the last few laps. Shaw being quicker on one lap, Littlewood being quicker on the next, vice versa, whatever the case may be. There's nothing to choose between them in this race. There hasn't been a lot to choose between them all season. And as a consequence of that, in terms of the championship points, there's nothing in it. Very little in it. James Pinkerton, his is the white car with a Dayglow flash down the centre. 2016 Radical SR1 champion. Now the head of R&D for Radical Sports Cars. Another one trying to thread his way through the order, having started off the back of the grid in each one of the races. He was up to 17th at the beginning of the lap. I suspect he might have picked another 1 or 2 off this time through. SR1 leaders round through Brooklands, still 'twas ever. Sam Shaw leading the way from Marcus Littlewood. Marcus Littlewood has been close, but he's never really had an opportunity as yet. He had that little try to get up the inside at Copse Corner, but yeah, it just wasn't there, and knew he wasn't far enough alongside. He was only just about to get himself alongside, so had to back out of it. Now it's taken him almost the whole of the rest of the next lap to get himself back into a position again, but again, just not close enough at this stage. The difficulty is, of course, the closer he gets to the car ahead, the more it affects the aero on his car, and also Sam Shaw doesn't make mistakes. or they're very rare indeed. James Pinkerton, this is a move up the inside of Wesley Fongini. Is he going to go through? Yes, he does. So James Pinkerton picks up 15th position. Wesley Fongini, who returns to the championship, loses out. Gavin McAlpine is just behind Wesley Fongini, so he'll look to see whether he might be able to do something. And then just off the back of that will be Amir Faisalim, who drives the number 15 car. And Amir is another one of those drivers that we regularly see racing in the Gulf Radical Cup. This is the all-white car at the back end of this little quartet of cars threading their way round through Abbey. So Fongini from McAlpine from Faisalim. James Pinkerton, having got to the front of the queue, is starting to pull away ever more now at the wheel of the Works Development car. So there is Amir Faisalim. That was another car that got tangled up at the first corner yesterday and was being worked on until quite late last night. I think I saw that car still being worked on by 360 Competition. Ross Kaiser, who had his birthday yesterday, happy birthday Ross, was, I think, offering up advice and what to do with the car to ensure that it was fully prepped for this morning's racing after its issues yesterday. So another lap about to be completed. Gavin McAlpine trying to attack Wesley Fongini, but also considering defence at the same time. Peter Tyler's also feeling the pressure as well. Peter Tyler is running in 8th place. Look in his mirrors, it's going to be Christian Brooks and Jason Rishover, which are the two cars that are absolutely behind him here. Christian Brooks, remember, and Jason Rishover, also drivers that were tangled up in the first corner incident yesterday. So that's where they're still trying to thread their way through the order. Christian Brooks goes through, Jason Rishover goes through. And 2 places lost down the hanger straight there for Peter Tyler. It's going to drop from 8th down to 10th. 16 minutes of the race still remain. So we're heading towards the halfway point. Another minute and we'll be there. And also another good fight going on for 4th place. Luke Hilton, Jack Yang, followed by Usman Mughal. And then just off the back of that, is that Oscar Joyce? Yes, it is. It's Oscar Joyce that's the next one that's up. So this is 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th at the moment. All pretty much nose to tail as they head onto the Hamilton Straight. One thing I haven't picked up on yet is who is leading the Fangio Trophy for drivers aged 45 and over at the beginning of the season. That is, at the moment, in 3rd place, the number 25 car, Paul Denning, who is leading that. And if he can hang on to that, Paul Denning, that would be very welcome news indeed. I think he's had 1 Fangio win, has he, so far this year? No, I don't think he has. I think it would be his first Fangio win so far this year. So he'll be hoping the number 25 car that he can hang on to 3rd place. And he's got a nice buffer in Fangio, actually. He's 3rd. The next Fangio category driver is Peter Tyler. And Peter is down in fact, it's now Jason Rishover, because he overtook Peter Tyler on that lap. Jason Rishover is down in 9th place. So past the halfway point, in towards Maggots and Beckett's. Luke Hilton in the number 32 car, still there in 4th. Jack Yang in 5th. Usman Mughal in 6th place. Oscar Joyce in 7th place. All trying to weave around and break each other's toe as they head down the hanger straight. And has Jack Yang got the run this time on Luke Hilton? He looked for the inside line, but couldn't quite squeeze his way through. He'll also be conscious that it's his Valor Racing teammate as well. So one thing he won't want to do is trip over his own teammate. So those two still remain where they were. Oscar Joyce also can't prise the door open on Usman Mughal. So it's still Mughal in the number 34 car that hangs onto the place, the Pakistan-based driver, who was very pleased indeed yesterday when he arrived at the circuit and saw the attention to detail of the Radical factory team, who had placed on the rear wing quarters his national flag. John Davis has had an off in his familiar black and gold livery that he also raced a race on his run on his SR1 for a good number of years. So he gets the car back onto track, Is he going to get back up to full speed? That was at the exit of Beckett's and on towards Chapel, I think. And for the lead of the SR1s rather, it is still Sam Shaw that's hanging on to it. Despite the very best efforts of Marcus Littlewood, he's always been there or thereabouts, but he's never had an opportunity to really even draw himself alongside. Such has been the consistency of Sam Shaw. 13 minutes to go. Luke Hilton, who lies second in the championship standings, still running in 4th place. That will please him because he had a 6th in the first race of the weekend. He was in the pit lane and was only classified 28th in the race earlier on today. So be a good haul of points again if the number 32 car can stay where it is. But Jack Young, Oscar Joyce and Usman Mogul all have other ideas about that. Changed around on the previous lap as Oscar Joyce got himself through and ahead of Usman Mogul. Now Jack Young again looking to see whether he can do something against his teammate, and there, stricken at the side of the circuit. That doesn't look good, does it? That's the number 8 car of Adrian Hallmark, the North Motorsport car. I think he's had a spin, possibly, has he? Coming out of Brooklands, probably had a part spin, didn't gather it up. But Adrian Hallmark will now continue in the race. Adrian Hallmark, who recently, if you've watched the motorsport media, was announced as being the new CEO of Aston Martin, is moving away from his current role of CEO at Bentley Cars. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Oscar Joyce is the only one that's made any progress in this little battle so far. Everything else has remained fairly static, hasn't it? And Oscar Joyce, I think, is going to make further progress here as he sneaks one up the inside of Jack Young, who was caught napping, and now the door is open. And Usman Mogul was looking to try and go through, but it's Oscar Joyce who gains another place. So he was 4th in this train. He's now 2nd in the train, and he's looking to see whether he can get through and ahead of Luke Hilton. Now, Oscar Joyce, he was 9th in the first race. He was 6th in the second race. Well, he's on for his best result of the weekend currently, in 5th, but that's not good enough for him. He's looking to try and grab 4th if he can. Back to the lead of the SR1s. Still remains as being Sam Shaw in the lead of the SR1s. Marcus Littlewood is having to be a very patient driver here. He would ideally love to just close up another couple of car lengths, would be enough for him to then have half a chance to see whether he can grab an opportunity for the lead, but he just can't get there. He just can't get close enough underneath the rear wing of the number 16 car of Sam Shaw to try and take away the lead. And he's been very much following in his shadow for the best part of 20 minutes now, and he's been scratching his head to see whether he's got any questions he can ask Sam Shaw, but he's just coming up short slightly. And as we said, just no mistakes from Sam Shaw. Right, Oscar Joyce still on the move now, round the outside of Luke Hilton. That's up at Stowe Corner. That's not going to work, so he tucks himself back behind once more. He's going to have another little nibble going down in towards Breaking Effort Club, but Luke Hilton covers him off, so he has to go to the outside. That doesn't work. He tucks himself back behind once more, gets on the throttle a little bit too early, loses ground on the car he was trying to take 4th place away, drops into the clutches of the car of Jack Young. And now Jack Young is looking to see whether he can close in the slipstream as they head up towards Abbey. But Abbey isn't really an overtaking point in these cars, so Oscar Joyce didn't gain the place, but he also was thankful he didn't lose the place. However, Jack Young might, because very late on the brakes, with a great move up the inside at Village, comes Usman Mogul and gains a position. So he's now up into 6th position and is now looking to try and attack Oscar Joyce to see whether he can gain 2 places for the price of 1. And with all of that, Jack Young now needs to watch his mirrors because he might get caught and lose a further place as well. I think that was Christian Brooks that's now right behind Jack Young. Yes, it is. One of those drivers I said to watch out for. All of those that got snaffled up in the lap 1 incident yesterday, we knew they'd come their way through the order. I think Christian Brooks is the first of those to get to the sharp end. Off and through the gravel, through the grass goes Usman Mogul, just having gained a place over Jack Young. He loses momentum coming out of Luffield, and straight away Jack Young seizes the opportunity to go through, and Christian Brooks goes through as well. So that is another place gained for Christian Brooks. However, he has got a 5-second penalty for track limits, Christian Brooks, so he might be gaining places on track. Add 5 seconds to his time, and so close is this pack that he's racing in, he is going to drop down through the order. So he would go back to something like 12th. So we've got 8 minutes of the race still to go. And down in towards the braking area for Club. Oscar Joyce trying to get past Luke Hilton. Can't do it there. So Oscar Joyce still there in 5th position. Christian Brooks is next up. Round through Abbey, Luke Hilton and Oscar Joyce, still trying to work out who wants to be 4th, who wants to be 5th at the moment. Now this is the Fangio Cup leader at the moment, leader of the Fangio Trophy I should say, Paul Denning. Now Paul Denning running in a podium spot, that is going to be his best result of the season. He started the season with the 4th place overall at Donington Park. Well, 3rd here would be something he would dearly like to hang on to, and who's going to be 4th we'll have to wait and see, because just behind him Luke Hilton and Oscar Joyce were going wheel to wheel, weren't they? So there is Paul Denning. Has Oscar Joyce made it through? No, it's still Luke Hilton in the background of the shots. Just see his white and red and day-glow flashes to his car, so he still remains 4th, number 32, with 6.5 minutes to go. Paul Denning up towards Copse, turns his way through the right-hander. That's lap number 11 now completed for him. All the time out front, of course, we've still got Chris Lulham leading the way. He leads by 10.6 seconds now, and is now starting to find himself amongst the traffic as he laps Lexi Belk and then places a lap on James Hadley's car. So the first 2 of the SR1s picked off. And again, another good battle between James Hadley and Lexi Belk. Lexi new to Radical racing for this year, having come out of things like Giannetta's in the past, but is loving her time at the wheel of the SR3. And herself and James Hadley have been very match for pace so far this weekend. Jason Rishover was looking to try and pull a move there and squeeze his way through and ahead of Christian Brooks. Christian Brooks won't be having any of that. Christian is the highest placed car from those that were tangled up in the Turn 1 incident from yesterday. Jason Rishover has also made similar progress. But the yellow car with the, red car with the yellow stripe down the centre still remains 8th at the moment, and that will put Jason Rishover for also 2nd of the Fangio Trophy eligible drivers. 3rd of the Fangio Trophy eligible drivers, who will that be? John McLeod, another driver from the tail end of the field, up to 11th place from something like 22nd on the grid. So 5 minutes of the race still remain. Onto the Wellington straight they'll go. Chris Lulham leading the way. Ian Aguilera just dealing with a bit of traffic as well. That's Ashley Gaunt's number 78 Radical SR1 that is now lapped by the 2nd place car, Ian Aguilera. Ian is now 11.3 seconds adrift of the race leader. He was right with him in terms of race pace yesterday. He was leading and won the race earlier on today, but had Chris Lulham right with him, and it just seems as though either whatever they've done with their tyre allocation or however they've looked at the ambient temperature and track temperatures for this one, just seems as though in race 1 and race 2, nothing to choose between them. But in this final race of the weekend, Chris Lulham has had the upper hand and has not really been under any pressure other than the first couple of laps. He's just edged his way away and now comfortably leads, and even on this lap he is, quarter of a second quicker just through the first third of it. So his last lap was a 2:05.4. Ian Aguilera's last lap time was a 2:06.1. So it's for Chris Lulham now just to control the pace, just make sure he's built that 11.3 second margin. Doesn't matter if it drops to 7 or 8 seconds, just still keep focused, still keep pushing, but just wind it back a little bit. Rather than try and drive at 105%, drive at 98. Ian Aguilera in the meantime working his way through and past traffic, so he's just dealt with the squabbling pair of SR1s, Lexi Belk and then the car ahead, and there's contact, and that's 3 cars that are out. That looks like that's Christian Brooks. It looks as though it is also going to be Jack Yang that's come together, and Alim Geshev, and they are all 3 of them slap bang in the middle of Club Corner. 1 car pointing backwards, 1 car pointing at 45 degrees to the wrong direction, and 1 car pointing forwards, all 3 of them stuck and nowhere for anybody to go. Now Christian Brooks is going to jump out of the car. The marshals are on hand. I think Jack Yang remains behind the wheel of his car, and I'm not sure they've got a great deal of choice but to maybe, I don't see how they can cover that with localised yellows with 3 cars in there, and if we go safety car now, we're not going to get the race restarted. So are they going to stop the race, or are they going to? Yes, they have. I think they have brought out the red flags, so not unsurprisingly, with 3 cars stricken slap bang in the middle of the circuit, then no choice but to red flag the race, and I'm afraid that will also mean that that is it for the Radical Cup UK here at Silverstone this weekend. So looks as though Alim Geshev's car has now been pushed away, and I think that was just stuck. He just couldn't get the car in a reverse gear and therefore had nowhere to go, because he was parked right up along the side of Jack Yang's car, which is pointing in the wrong direction, but not by 180 degrees. It's probably about 95 degrees, something like that. And then pointing in totally the wrong direction was Christian Brooks. So I'm not sure whether that was like a concertina effect, that maybe Jack Yang got into the back of Christian Brooks at the same time that Alim Geshev got into the back of Jack Yang. Didn't see it, I simply don't know, but it was so unusual to have 3 cars all pointing in different directions, 2 of them pointing the wrong direction-ish. But it does mean that Chris Lulham isn't going to have to worry about any further pressure. Safety car would not have been what he had wanted, because he'd built the advantage, but there wasn't time to go safety car. The only decision was to bring out the checkered flag early or red flag it, and that's what they've done. We will go back a lap, so the results we'll give you will still be provisional, because if anybody had overtaken just before the red flag, you go back a lap before the red flag and that overtake wouldn't happen. So any results we give you will be provisional, but it does look as though Chris Lulham is going to keep very much a stranglehold on the 2024 Hagerty Radical Cup UK. He has finished 1st or 2nd in every race so far this year, barring round 3 at Donington Park, the 3rd race that we had there supporting the British Touring Car Championship. And if you look at that, yeah, all of those have been wins, and even I think the win that Ian Aguilera took earlier on today, I'm not sure if he's championship point scoring. If he's not, Chris Lulham would pick up the points for the win, because he was the first of the championship drivers home. But we'll wait and see. We'll find out what the points look like after this one. Let's give you those provisional results then, following round 15 of the 2024 Hagerty Radical Cup UK. It was a win for Chris Lulham, with Ian Aguilera there in 2nd position, and in 3rd place, his best result of the season and a win in the Fangio Trophy for Paul Denning. Then it was Luke Hilton who was 4th, ahead of Oscar Joyce 5th. Jack Yang was running 6th at the point the red flags come out, but remember, these are provisional results. And 7th was Christian Brooks, another driver that was involved in that race-stopping incident. Jason Rishover was there in 8th place, and 9th place was going to be Usman Mughal, with Armin Geshev completing the top 10. Then as we move outside of the top 10, John McLeod was 11th, ahead of Chris Preen and Peter Tyler. James Pinkerton moved his way up into 14th, with Andy Lowe there 15th. Wesley Fongeneau was there. Was there in 16th place, and 17th place is going to be the number 15 car, which is Amir Faisalim. Then it was Gavin McAlpine from Peter Brooks, and Lee Jackson wrapped up the top 20. As we go to 21st position, Rupert Adcock was in 21st. 22nd was, importantly, the winner of the SR1 category. Sam Shaw finished in 22nd place, but had race-long pressure from Marcus Littlewood, who finished 23rd and 2nd of the SR1s. Then it was Adrian Hallmark, who completed the top 24. John Davis was in 25th place. 26th place, the driver that completes the SR1 podium, Bradley Gaunt. Then it was James Hadley, Lexi Belk, and then the final finisher will be Ashley Gaunt, because we did lose very early on in the race Rob Greenwood for Valor Racing. So that's it. That's our racing done this weekend for the Hagerty Radical Cup UK. They next return to the circuits on the 14th and 15th of September. Not sure whether that's been brought to you live or not. So from Silverstone, until next time, at least, it's goodbye.